everyone. My name is Dr. Anna Marie, and we're actually recording this live for the Happy Whole You podcast. And I'm so excited to have my guests with me today. If you've been to one of our live panels, can you raise your hand? The ones we did last year. 1, 2 people. Okay, so this is a fresh group. I wanted to share with you the reason why I started these panels is because I wanted to bring some elevated experiences to Bakersfield. And I think oftentimes we forget the incredible talent that lives within our community. And it brings me such great joy to bring people together. And even if it's just for 1 hour, I look forward to what this creates in our community beyond today. Okay, so let's introduce our guest. So first, we have Miss Jess Drury. And Jess, if you could share with everyone just a little bit about yourself and who you are.
Sure. Hi, I'm Jess. I am born and raised in Bakersfield, California, and I am the founder of Whiny Baby Wine. Last year, I won Gordon Ramsay and Lisa Vanderpump's Food Stars. And I moved away from Bakersfield for a bit, had kind of the mindset that I think a lot of people have, which is, I'm never coming back to Bakersfield. I can't achieve my dreams from Bakersfield, which I think everyone here would agree is totally wrong. And so now I'm fully based here and run Whiny Baby from here, and am super passionate like you about growing community in Bakersfield, especially for more people moving back home and the creative community as well.
That's so amazing. And I think we do that. We grow up in a community. I'm not from Bakersfield. However, I've been here for over 20 years. And we grow up in a community and we think the grass is greener on the other side. And there's something to be said about creating relationships and building, having our roots and going back to the places where, people know our names. I don't know. What's that from? Cheers? That's like such an old... Some of you are like, I don't know what you're talking about. Okay. And then we have Mr. Jake Tavar. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
If you could share with everyone a little bit about you.
Yeah. So I'm Jake, also born and raised here in Bakersfield, California. I love taking photos. I have a creative heart and stuff. Also have a huge heart for community. So I think when I started photography, I kind of just wanted to make that promise to myself to always kind of help the community push it within the right direction. And as of late, I'm kind of starting up a new coffee venture as well. So kind of, I guess, co-founder in a coffee venture. I'm not going to speak too much on that since it's in its very beginning stages and stuff. But yeah, I love photography. My creative heart kind of just goes very, very deep. So yeah, I love everything.
Awesome. Yeah, just creating a coffee company, just creating a wine business. This is just, whatever, just doing these things. I love it. And this is, I was so fortunate, Noor Studios with Miss Joy. She's been so generous to, let us use this space. So Joy's right back there. Thank you so much. And when we were talking about doing an event here in the community, I asked her, who are some people that that would be fabulous to share on this creative mindset panel? And these were 2 people at the very top of her list. And it was so great because literally we just messaged and they're like, yep, I'm in, like, no problem. And it's like, oh my gosh, like these successful people are like, don't think twice about giving back to the community. So I love that. And then Miss Ruth Klein, I met her a few months ago. She was at a women's event and she was speaking and she was talking about manifestation, neuroscience, all this stuff that I geek out about all the time. And I was like, where has she been my whole life? I love this woman. And when we talk about a creative mindset and someone creating the life that they desire, I was like, Ruth has to be on this panel. And of course, no problem. Yes, I'll be there. And so Ruth, if you could just share with everyone a little bit about you and who you are. And I thank you for coming today.
Oh, my pleasure. First of all, let me know when you have the coffee place. I'm a coffee lover.
Will do.
Okay. So my company is called Expert Celebrity Branding. And what that means is taking your expertise and everybody here has a genius zone and has an expertise. And the celebrity piece is the visibility. Visibility today is currency. And then branding. Who are you? The other part of what I do is soul-centered coaching, which is wellness. And you can't talk really about one without talking about the other. I came up here after the Palisades fires. Yes, I was one of them. And I still have my place, but I was displaced for about 6 or 7 weeks, and I was living in hotel rooms. And then when we finally could get back to our place, and the National Guard wasn't there anymore, the police wasn't there anymore, the water was tainted, and we couldn't use the water. So I thought, check this. There was another letter in front of it. And I came up to Bakersfield. We have a family home here. I grew up here. I raised 3 beautiful children here. And I'm so thrilled to be back in Bakersfield. And now I go down to my place in LA to enjoy and relax and not work. And this is my zone here right now. And my level of enjoyment in life is so much greater here. It's so much greater. I came upon that realization last week.
That's awesome.
Yes.
That is so great. So this panel is actually about you guys today. We are all going to share some experiences in our life. And this is just a representation of the fact that we get to create the life that we desire. And whatever we put at the forefront of our mind, our brain is going to filter the world to validate what we are telling our minds. And each one of these guests today have done that very thing. They had an idea that started in their mind. They started to take action, and then they started to create a reality and a neurochemical response in their brain that tells them, you can do this again. And it's always the doing and the first time that is usually the hardest. And once we do it once, we can do it again. So if there is something that is burning inside of you that you've been desiring to do, it could be starting a coffee business. It could be simply running your first 5K. It could be writing a letter to somebody that maybe you've had a displaced relationship with. If we can put it in our mind and we can start taking action towards it, we are going to start creating a different reality for ourselves. And so as I ask the questions that I'm about to ask our panelists, I just would love for you to just remain open, because sometimes what our brain will do is our brain will say, yeah, well, it's easy for them because, and then our brain will say all the reasons why it's easy for everyone on this panel to have such great success in their life. And we say, well, that's not available to me. I'm here to share with you anything is possible, anything is available to you. And if you can remain open to that conversation within yourself and step into the person that you are meant to be without fear, without limitations, your life is going to start to change. And if you can't tell, that's what I'm really passionate about, is helping people. And I own Happy Whole You, which is right down the street. We're a holistic wellness company. And, people think that you come in and, your physical body will change and, maybe you're doing weight loss or whatnot. But I always go back to the mind, to the brain, because how we think about our life and how we speak about our life is everything. It actually changes our biochemistry. Our biochemistry, the chemistry in the body, is feelings. So if we can change how we're feeling about our life, it'll change how we show up and what we're doing in our life. And so the mindset is literally everything, and your body will follow what your mind is telling it. Okay, now I want to get into the questions. I'm going to start with Ruth. And Ruth, your question is, what practices or techniques do you find most effective when cultivating a positive mindset and manifesting your goals?
Okay. The first thing I do, and I recommend to my clients, is journaling. First, in the morning, journal. There is a wonderful book called, it's not The Writer's Way, that's what I wanted to write. It's called what's it called? The Artist's Way, yes. That's the book, and it immediately says, Write 3 pages every single morning. And here's the deal. If you are writing, go, I have nothing to say. There's nothing to say. Nothing's going to make a difference. Just keep writing. Keep writing for 3 pages. That's kind of and if you want to go more, fine. But what it does, it takes, as Anna Marie said, it takes the gunk out of the subconscious piece that you're living, where it says you can't do it, I can't do it, who do I think I am? You have to have a lot of money, you have to have a 17 degrees, I don't have a certification, and then there's something magical that happens. You connect with your spirit. You connect with that intuitive piece that knows that you are a genius, that you are brilliant, and you can do it. And I know this sounds so woo-woo-y, but I would suggest that you do these 3 pages, and I do them every day. And if I don't journal, I'm off kilter. I have to journal every morning. And when I'm traveling, that's not always easy, but I have to find the time, even if it's only for 3 minutes. And in that time, I find that as I'm journaling, I get the gunk out, I get all the, I can't do that, I can't do that. Ooh, a light bulb comes on. And I end up planning my day. I don't plan the night before, because life is too frenetic these days. There's too much that comes up. And I don't want to plan and use my mind share the night before when I'm at a brand new morning that I can use my mind share for something right here, right now.
I love that. I love that. Raise your hand. Does anyone journal in here? Anyone? That's awesome. Yeah.
But everyone's going to start.
Yeah. Yeah. Start journaling. One thing also, if like, for journaling, another thing you can start with also is just dictating into your phone. Like having a conversation and dictating, like go for a 5-minute walk and start dictating like whatever creative thoughts you start having. So I love that. I'm a writer, so journaling is fantastic. Yeah. So thank you for that tip. Okay, Jake, can you share a specific example of a creative endeavor or project that significantly transformed your life, and like what motivated you to pursue it?
Wow. Yeah, that's deep. When I think about my life, I thought soccer was my first passion. I picked that up when I was a kid, but then I found a camera. I was 21 years old. I guess to take it back, I was a sophomore in high school, picked up an iPhone and begged my parents for an iPhone. But then I think that whole just process of trial and error. And I love how you mentioned that, because there's times in school I didn't really felt passionate to keep going forward. And I was an okay student, maybe like 2.9 to 3.3 GPA, pretty average. But something that changed my life tremendously is like that passion or that just drive that I've never ever felt before until I picked up a camera, where I'm like, dude, I could fail. And I still fail 6, 7, 8 years down the road. But that failure is that like gas that I need to keep going. Gas in the tank is like, I don't ever want to cap myself with my knowledge or learning from people. So it's hard to see a project. I really like to kind of just relate to picking up that iPhone and that camera, really shifting my life on a 360%. Because without that, I really don't know who I would be right now. So it may not be a direct answer, but if anyone has that, like that passion, like just go dive in, right? Just get obsessed with it. And that's what happened to me. I got really obsessed with the grind, with photography, and it's allowed me to kind of just keep growing from there.
And did like time just like, whenever you do photography, is it like time just goes away? Like it doesn't exist?
Totally. Like whenever it's weird, I'll talk to my girlfriend. I'm like, dude, whenever I have a camera, my like worries go away, or my anxieties go away, or like everything goes away. It's kind of like my happy place.
Yeah.
And I don't even like to give those things power of like negative thoughts or anxieties, but it's a real thing. But yeah, the camera is almost like that superpower, that superhero that is like my best friend that I could just pick up and just get lost in the sauce and kind of just so not another person, because it is an extension of myself, but without a camera, I don't know who I would be.
I love that. Lost in the sauce.
Apologies for the terminology.
No,
Lost, I guess, translation, very dialed into the craft, into your hearts. You're lost in the love, I guess. lost in the passion.
I love that. And honestly, all of you here have probably had those moments where time just disappears when you're doing something that you love. And it's like, what type of community would we be living in if actually everyone allowed themselves to do the very things that brought them so much joy and so much passion? And I mean, none of us would ever be on time to anything again, I think, because we would be just losing track of it. But I think that is a signal of you're in your genius and you're in your authentic purpose in life, is when time just like disappears.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I totally agree. I could go more in depth, but it's find that and just gravitate towards it and just, again, get obsessed with the growth in the craft.
Yeah. And I love how you said, like, at first it was soccer. And I think that's what happens is we can have our thing that we're passionate about. And then when something else comes up, it's okay to transition. It's okay to switch over. And even though this was your thing for a while, switching over to something else is totally fine as well. So I love that.
Yeah.
All right, Jess, I'm going to actually throw you the same question. So can you share a specific example of a creative endeavor or project that significantly transformed your life, and what motivated you to go through that process?
I would say, obviously, Whiny Baby. So, I actually, yesterday was a really special day for me in the company because I had the idea for Whiny Baby in March of 2020 when I was living in LA. And I went to the Brentwood Whole Foods and I had a first date with a guy. He said, I'll cook for you. You bring a bottle of wine. All the restaurants were closed. Don't go to a guy's house on a first date. That's not what I'm saying to do. But I stood in the Whole Foods wine aisle and I was like, at 22, I didn't grow up with parents who really drank wine much, so I wasn't exposed to it. And I just remember thinking, wow, there really needs to be, something for my generation. And yesterday, I walked into a Whole Foods and purchased Whiny Baby for the first time. So 5 years later, it was super special. But I am not a very woo-woo person. But maybe I am, because I did bring a prop with me under here, which is my little binder that I do. And I mean, you can call it manifestation, or you can call it writing down your goals. I am a huge believer to an obsessive kind of drill sergeant way. But, every single year, get Whiny Baby into Whole Foods has been on, my goal list. And I do believe it seeps into your subconscious. But I mean, if there's one big takeaway today, it is truly that there's no difference between me and you guys. It sounds actually insane that I had an idea in a store and 5 years later, that idea was for purchase in that store. I don't believe I'm more creative or more talented than anyone here. I think that I've just been diligent in sticking with it and having a delusional belief that I could really do that. Maybe I have the opposite of whatever imposter syndrome is. And it's because I, at an early age, was able to be in a room full of successful older people. And I quickly realized they have no idea what they're doing either. So I was like, oh, okay. Once you realize that, you're like, oh, I have every reason to be in those rooms as well.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That's such a great story. And that's what you did. I believe in manifestation. I believe we put something in what's called the quantum field, and you put that out there and it will come back to you. And this is like Ruth's jam 1000% with manifestation. But yeah, that's so amazing. And that must have felt so incredible. Like, how proud of yourself? Like, what did you feel inside? Like, did you cry? Like, what were you like? What is happening?
Unfortunately, I am the personality type that doesn't sit, and this moment is actually the time I'm sitting and celebrating, being like, oh, I do get emotional and super thankful for that. But I'm very, success in my mind is, yes, that was an amazing accomplishment to have done that, but I want to create something that stands the test of time, that becomes a household name. So I'm right up there with going, cool, we can take a moment to go, that was great, but in order to do that, you have to, keep getting sales, you have to keep getting new consumers. So it never stopped. But thankfully, I mean, I'm going, oh, maybe we just have obsessive personalities. But it is an obsession and a joy. And I think what you're describing, that state of flow, that for me is at home. I remember when I first had the idea for Whiny Baby, I'm like 22, living in LA, and on the weekend, my friends would all go out and, that's so fun. But I remember being out and being like, I'd rather be homeless, planning my future, And so for me, I have like research nights by myself still. I did it the other weekend, and I'll just sit and research and come up with ideas. And it's that truest, I think, form of flow that I experience in my life.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love that. Yeah, I can't tell you how many times I didn't go out to the bars or party or something because I was working on just my future, and that was more fun to me.
Totally. It becomes an addiction.
Yeah, it really does. Oh my gosh, I love that. All right, I'm gonna throw it back to you, Ruth. So I mean, obviously we're talking about all the ups right now. We've talked about all the good things, but anytime, nobody gets to get through this thing called life easy. Every single one of us have had challenging times. Every single one of us have had times where maybe we didn't want to get out of bed the next day. We've all struggled. Nobody gets to go through life without significant struggle. And this is what helps shape us and teach us. And it's how we choose to respond versus react to those struggles that really builds our character. And so, Ruth, can you share with us, like, what ups and downs have you had? Or is there a significant struggle that you've had that in advice you would give to anyone out there that is struggling right now?
So my parents came from Europe after World War II and didn't have any money, didn't know the language here. And so I grew up in an environment of love and separation, if that makes any sense. And when I really wanted a birthday party, but I didn't really have a mom to do that. So I would make my own invitations, and I would invite everybody, and I would host. And that seems like a little thing, but what it did, I grew up very quickly. And in that moment, I knew that if something was going to work for me, I was going to have to take responsibility, and I was going to have to do it. And I also got the message that be very successful, but not too visible. And I understood why. And so I kept myself little. My clients would tell me I'm the best kept secret. My clients would tell me that, and I thought, that's so cool. I'm the best kept secret. And then I realized that's not so good for business. And I had that messaging, so it was dampening me. I wanted to write my first book. I went to the Santa Barbara Writers Conference, which at that time was one of the top 3 in the nation. I got there, and Ray Bradbury, who wrote Fahrenheit, something 451, 954, something Fahrenheit, who was very well known. He was the opening speaker. And then we had Charlie Schultz there from Peanuts. And then I called my husband at the time and said, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't deserve to be here. Did you hear the word? I don't deserve to be here. I don't belong here. Who do I think I am that I came to this? And his response was, no, you're going to stay. We paid for it. So male. Sorry. And so I did. I stayed, and excuse me, but I had tummy problems the whole week because I didn't think I deserved to be there. And then I went to a class because I'm very results oriented and high on ROI, and I used I call it the miracle field to work it, but I didn't know it at the time. And we all do it, but we may not notice that's what we're doing. And I sat next to this gal, and I was asking her all these questions about publishing. And then I did not know that she was the speaker. And she was a book agent. And she gets up and she says, if you're going to be a writer, don't ask all the silly questions that gal over there asked. So then I had more tummy problems. You know what that means. And then I went to they were called pirate workshops, and they started at 9 p.m. and they went until, I don't know, 2 in the morning. And I went to her workshop. Could you imagine? And I had a little bit of the book proposal done. And I thought to myself, oh man, she just kind of slapped the wind out of me. And when I got there, and I got there at 9 p.m. It's now 11:50, 11:55, 11:58. And I thought, God, even Cinderella knows what to do at midnight. So I raised my hand. She goes, yeah. So I get up. I share a little bit about what I'm doing, what the book is. It's on time management. And she goes, fine, enough. And then she goes, have you written more on it? I said, yes. Send it to me. So I did. And she was my first agent. The point being that my messaging growing up was to stay down, was to be successful, but not too successful, because then you would be too visible. And when you're visible, stuff happens. And so you can understand that when I was getting slapped, I kind of expected it subconsciously. But somehow there was a drive. There was that intuitive peace. There was that little, thank goodness, divine spark that had me keep going.
That's an amazing story. How many of you have walked into a room or done something and felt like, I don't deserve to be here? Other people are smarter than me. People are more talented than me. Like, yeah, right? We've all experienced that. And so I love that you had that little spark to just like keep going, keep showing up. And sometimes that spark comes from a spouse to say, no, you're staying, or a friend that says, you're going along, you're going to do this. And that's why it's so important, because oftentimes there's other people that believe in us more than we believe in ourselves. And sometimes that's what we need in that moment. And then we start to take on their belief system that, oh, I can do this. And those are the best friends to have. Those are the good people you want in your life, because we all have enough of that negative voice inside our own heads. We don't need it outside of us too. Very, very cool.
And yet it's so interesting, because I felt so loved, because I was so loved.
Yeah.
But I was living in two worlds, a European world and an American world. And I didn't know either one, really.
Yeah.
And one more thing, and that is, if you get that divine spark, that's the truth.
Yes.
The divine spark is your truth. The other stuff is stuff that we've heard or we've learned or whatever it is. But that divine spark that says you mean something, you're precious, you can do this, that's what I was very gifted somehow to be able to follow, because that's the real part of who you are.
Yes, I love that. And if you don't follow that divine spark, I promise you will end up coming to my place, because you'll tell me that you're having digestive issues, you're having reflux, you're having headaches, your hormones are off. Our physical body creates dis-ease when we are not in alignment with our true authentic self. And this may be the first time you've kind of heard that, or maybe you've heard this before. Maybe you follow Bruce Lipton or Joe Dispenza, some of these amazing people. But literally, if we're not in alignment, our body will get sick, because it's trying to signal to us, you're out of alignment. Things aren't right. I need you to change your environment. And when you keep pushing it back and pushing it down and not listening, your body will physically respond louder and louder and louder. And sometimes this shows up as heart disease. This shows up as type 2 diabetes. This shows up as so many physical ailments that people think just happen to them. Dis-ease in the body doesn't just happen. And we know this through neuroscience. We know this through epigenetics. It happens because of the environment that we are putting our body in. I had somebody, and I talked about this at the last talk I did, was like, oh yeah, my parents have type 2 diabetes and my grandparents have type 2 diabetes, so it runs in my family. Type 2 diabetes is 100% preventable. It is not caused by your genetics whatsoever. Type 2 diabetes does not run genetically in families. It runs in families because of the environment that you are in that is similar to your parents, that is similar to your grandparents. And when we have diabetes, we are lacking the sweetness of life. We are lacking the joy of life. This is the emotion that is missing in our life, and our blood sugar and pancreas will respond. Sorry, I had to go off on that tangent because it's so important that we understand our mind and our body and our energy are all connected. And we do this thing and we put them in silos. And that is no way to live. You will be able to have more energy, more health, more vitality, more well-being if you connect your purpose with what you are doing in your life. All right. So, Jake.
That's hard to follow.
So ups and downs.
Yeah.
How about, do you have a story for us?
Ups and downs. Ups and downs. I love how you mentioned all of the things that you've just talked about, because I've directly have dealt with those as well. The misalignment through previous relationships, toxic relationships. I felt that digestion would not go away, and I wasn't eating anything different. It's weird how your body kind of communicates that, but I think those are the things that also just kind of light my butt on fire to kind of just like keep pushing and keep going. And I think the ups and downs are kind of a little more direct for me. Of so many people told me no. So many people said, no, dude, you can't make it. Like it's, I had people on Instagram tell me verbatim, like, dude, teach yourself. Do not ask for a handout. And this was when I was starting photography. Very basic, simple question of how do you get the background blurry? And a lot of photographers know it's a pretty easy answer, but they would tell me, dude, teach yourself, don't ask for a handout. And that's what I kind of did. But I promised myself when I got older and more experienced, like if I could push that other photographer or that less experienced photographer just in that right direction, I made that promise to myself. So that's where kind of community comes into play as well. But it's cool because as with art and photography and maybe the other things we're talking about, there's so many equations that can equate to a solution where you might do 5 + 5 = 10 and I may do 8 + 2, whether our processes are kind of different, but we may get the same product of a portrait or a photograph of something. But I think the losses and the ups and downs for me, the losses are in reality the wins, because it's the world or God or whoever you believe in, whatever you believe in, telling you what you should and kind of not should and shouldn't believe, but the world works in very mysterious, lovely ways. But honestly, to directly answer your question, all the failures, all the just trying to, when I started photography, like taking time off of my serving job and understanding that opportunity cost, building my savings and taking that leap of faith, like those are all challenges and speed bumps that you go through. But the day after I quit my job at Outback Steakhouse, I got 4 or 5 bookings. And that was like a reassurance from the world that I was in the right position. So understanding the little wins, whether that's super, super small, because they also compound over time as well. You don't need this huge euphoric kind of, I guess, experience. I've had those as well of a panic attack telling me that I need to get out of the situation. But as far as ups and downs, embrace it all, because I think the losses and the negatives turn into positives. Not to bring in a pun with film photography, but we see negatives and those turn into positive, and that becomes a photograph. But yeah, it's a lovely experience.
Yeah. And I love that, like you even said that when I first met you, like you're not gatekeeping your knowledge, and you want to share with other photographers and creatives because you didn't necessarily have people that would share freely with you. And I think this goes back to the equation, like you said, we can all have, the perfect camera. We can all have, the don't do photography, so I don't know all the things, but the perfect lighting, the perfect camera, all of that. But it's you and your unique energy and way that you're behind the camera that changes the outcome. And that's the secret sauce. And no one else is ever going to have your secret sauce ever again. And so, yeah, I think I love that. And I think knowledge is meant to be shared. It's not meant to be gatekept. Because when we know better, we can do better, but we can do better in our own unique way. And that's what it's about. So
100%.
I love that.
Right there with you.
All right. Jess, how about you? What has been the most challenging thing that you've dealt with Whiny Baby?
My gosh.
Like,
That was so deep. No, I mean, I think being an entrepreneur or anything you do, there's always going to be like ups and downs. And I think that the faster you can get comfortable with not getting embarrassed, it sounds so silly, but I feel like growing up in the age of social media, I felt like for a really long time, I don't know if anyone agrees with this, that like Gen Z had this attitude of like, it's cool to not care too much. Like, oh, it's lame to be like, I really want to do this thing. And, you know, and so the quicker I was able to get over any sort of embarrassment. And I really liked what you were saying about, you know, anytime you're doing something, it doesn't matter what it is, you are going to get pushback, you're going to get criticism. Anytime you start posting on social media, people are going to talk about you. And I think it's Mel Robbins who says like, you know, if you have any interest in starting your own business or doing things, your social media is not for those random people from high school. It is for creating your business. And if those random people from high school want to talk about you, you know, who cares? But no, to give like a specific example, because I know it would be meaningful for me to hear, is the same day that I got accepted into Whole Foods, I got discontinued from another store. And, you know, success is why that happened. You know, it's the location of it or whatever, but that could have, you know, devastated me. And I definitely had a moment where I was bummed. But in that same vein, I think that confidence comes from experience. I'm confident because I know, oh, well, World Market, who I also just got into, denied me last year. And now, you know, I got in this year with one of my SKUs and they emailed me a couple days ago saying they want to bring the other two in next year. So it's what one person could view, oh, I have all these failures. Another person could go, oh, I don't view those as failures. I just view them as sharpening the tools in my tool belt and not the right thing at that moment. So I think I put a lot out there and the failures don't hurt as much because they're like, I've got a million other things, you know, in the works at the same time.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, don't have all your eggs in one basket.
Definitely not.
Yeah. And rejection's just a part of life. You know, I mean, raise your hand if you've been rejected in here. Yep, all of us have been. Yeah, and sometimes it's a rejection emotionally. I think it always feels emotional. Sometimes it's a rejection with our products, with our services, not getting that gig that you put so much time writing the proposal together for, and then I think the worst part is wondering, like, why? Right? Like, we don't always get the answers of why, but I think, you know, it's just, again, it's that moving on and keep those reps in. Yeah, I mean, it just takes reps. And the more reps we do, it's like, you know, those losses don't feel so bad. Yeah. All right. Actually, Jess, I want to ask you, what advice would you give someone who feels like nothing is working for them? They're like, yeah, Jess, well, okay, you got into Whole Foods, you got into World Market, and maybe somebody else dropped you, but like, girl, I haven't even gotten a supplier to help me out. Like,
Yeah.
Like, what would you say to them?
Or even, you know, I'm working a job I hate and living with my parents. And like, you know, it could be anything. I think that I'm a really strategic person and I really view life like, you know, you kind of have a deck of cards that you're given and it's up to you to go, how do I make these work in my favor? As of this time last year, I was just moving out of my mom's house and mentally I had lived on my own for several years in LA, but when I started my business, you know, there are certain sacrifices that you have to make. And I could
and free rent is one of those.
Exactly. It's great. Right. And I could have, every day been like, oh, like, look at my shitty deck of cards.
Yeah.
Or I could be like, wow, this is awesome. I now have all this money that I can reinvest here. And so I would just say it literally doesn't matter where you're at. We all have these deck of cards that we can strategically play. If you're bummed about living in Bakersfield, which I think it's the greatest place ever. And, I think it's so amazing. But you could be like, oh, there's not that much going on here. Or you could be like, wow, there's so much opportunity to start doing things that don't exist. So for me, I think it's all about mindset. And, it's start today. Go home tonight and I literally brand them research nights. It makes it feel like sexier. I light a candle and I write music and I put my phone on Do Not Disturb and I just start writing and start, coming up with ideas. But then I think, and I'm more woo-woo than I think
she's discovering it right now. Between my energy, Ruth's energy, like between her was sandwiching her into the woo-woo of the Pontus field.
I hope this doesn't sound harsh, but it's true. I think that everybody has like an abundance of creativity and ideas, but what very few people have is the skill set to communicate and execute. And the quicker you can develop those skills, the quicker, those ideas will become a reality. And, like I said, make it a thing, tonight, light that candle and start making an action plan with wherever you're currently at.
Yes, I love that. And I think light that candle, view where you're at, and leverage where you're at. Yeah. People don't look like we're not looking at the leverage. I mean, I left an 18-year career at 40 years old to go full time with Happy Whole You. And before I left that career, I was getting bitter. I was getting angry. I was like, I have to go to work today. Like that is not the attitude to have. I actually shift it to like, I'm choosing to go to work today. I'm leveraging where I'm at. And I started to see things from a completely different lens of abundance because I knew where I was going. So whatever circumstance you're in right now that like maybe you're like, I don't like to really be in this circumstance or this doesn't feel as good for me. I like really shift to say, how can I leverage where I'm at to build to the future that I desire? Because it's not everyone can just say, oh, I quit my job. See you later. Because that's, that mortgage thing comes at the end of the month or rent. And then like, your credit card bills. I don't know why they send them to us every month, but they like want us to pay them and stuff.
I have one more important thing I want to add to that because I think sometimes it sounds insane. Like you're like, I'm writing this goal down and it seems ridiculous. And I think we'd be surprised at things our brains lie to us. I don't know why they do. And it holds us back.
Yeah.
And I had a phone call a week or so ago with someone in the C-suite level at the world's largest wine company. And I was saying to her, it's so hard for young people to break in. And she goes, people can call me. People can email me. And which I did, and I got a meeting with her. And I think it made me think, I was like, oh my gosh,
the story.
The people that are complaining online about how hard it is, and it is very difficult, how many of them have tried reaching out to these big companies? They're probably saying to themselves, oh, if I reached out, they would never get back to me.
Yes.
I think you'd be very surprised by if you start reaching out, if you start putting things out there, people are a lot more open. There are a lot more opportunities than you even think exist.
Because they're human.
Yeah.
Like we're all the same. Like we're all human. And they get a big fancy name or something. And then we think, oh, they're like, we can't. Oh, but yeah, that's so good. I love that you added that. Thank you. All right, Ruth, if someone feels stuck, what is one thing they can do from feeling stuck to like getting in that flow that we talked about earlier where time doesn't exist?
I have to respond to two things.
Yes,
there's so I was sitting here going, all right. So first of all, personally, I don't believe in failure. That is, frequency-wise, that is a very low frequency. Love is very high. You can feel it. You know what it's like. When someone tells you lovely things about you, if you feel good, that's high frequency. When they criticize you, that's low frequency, right? So failure is nothing but a word that we have attached to. Failure is just learning. It's like a maze, and you learn, oop, can't go that way. Let's try this. Oop, can't go. That's what life is. Life is learning the maze. And if you were to read, which I'm sure you have read, some very successful people, they will tell you they've learned more from their failures than they did from their successes. Let me repeat that. It's so powerful.
Yes.
Very successful people will often say they have learned more from their failures, and I go failures because I don't believe the word.
She's throwing up air quotes for those
No,
listening to the
quotes,
podcast.
rather than their successes. Think about it. The things that haven't worked, you learned more than the things that have worked. And then your comment is so awesome. So I do a lot of media on occasion, and media producers will tell you that less than 1% of the people that they get into on radio or podcasts or TV or radio send them a thank you note. Isn't that hard to believe? Send a thank you note. So it's hard to believe, but that exists. So what you said, Jess, just call so you get a no, but you could just as easily get a yes. But now to answer your question, which I almost forgot, how do you push through so many different ways? But I'm going to show you such a fast one, and that is move. Move your energy. Pick your tush up and walk outside. Ideally, nature is healing. And just look at a tree. Just look at a tree. Look at fish. Look at water. Look at cement. Move your tush, because being stuck is, think about it, you're stuck. You got to move. You got to take movement. That's what momentum is. One of the reasons we don't take action is because we don't have the movement. We need to always be moving. Another way to get out of it, that's a great question, is to write down your story, where you think you are now, who you think you are. And then write the story that you want. You are the playwright. You're the playwrighter of your world, of your life. And I know that environment can be tough. I know that situations can be tough. And I also know that you are the playwrighter of your life. So write the play. And another way to get unstuck, just telling a client this, in a marriage situation, think of yourself. I had to do this with my daughter. God bless my daughter. But it was difficult with her as she was growing up. She's a doll, but it was a little difficult when she was growing up. She's a Taurus. Anyone here a Taurus? Yeah, you get the picture. So, I think I forgot because that just took me to another lane. And that is, pretend like you are in a theater and you're sitting in the theater watching the play, and you're up there, and whomever else is up there, it could be your critical you. It could be a really critical person. Just watch it. Observe it from not being in it, because when you're in it, you're like this. Because this is how we live, or we think we live. We live in Earth School. But the reality is there's another part. I can't help myself.
Keep going. Girl.
There's another part that is the spirit part. That's the divine part. And in that space, when you can elevate, I'm assuming everyone has a back of their head. I'm hoping. But you could have a hole in the back of your head, because I can't see you because it's level. It's right here. But if I were to stand up, I'd be able to see a little bit more. So the more that you can elevate, and that's what that theater situation does, it helps you elevate, because in that elevation is that spirit spark. In that elevation, you can now see why, through journaling perhaps, or talking to Anna Marie on mindset, is to see what's blocking you. But it's hard when you're here and you're living here. Because this is where we live. We think this is the real reality. We think this is the real reality. This is not the real reality. The real reality we can't see. And the reason I know that's a real reality is because this chair was created in that other reality. Your wine and baby was created in that other reality. Your whole person, your whole beautiful facility, you have to go see it. It's down here right by Happy Jack's, was created in that other field, in that other area. It was in here. Everything is created in that reality, and we think this is reality because we can see it and we can touch it and we can feel it and we can talk about it. But it's not. It so isn't. And if you truly believe that, woo-woo, if you truly believe that, then you're going to have sessions with yourself and do research. You're going to have sessions with yourself and brand. You're going to have the ideas of a coffee shop. That was not created in this environment. That was created in that miracle field. And we all have that miracle. We are living with that miracle field, but this is what we're doing. Get away. I don't want to see you. You're not real. I'm done.
Okay. Good. I love it. No, it's so true because everything we create, like it is in another field and then we pull it here and it becomes physical. And I think one of the things that I've done, a question I ask myself, and this may help you guys, is when we're doing this, if we ask ourselves, what if this wasn't true? When we ask ourselves, whatever situation you're dealing with right now, of why you can or cannot leave your job, why you can start that photography business or not, whatever it is, if you ask yourself, well, what if that wasn't true? What you allow yourself to do is kind of elevate above the whole dense situation you're in. And it's like, well, what if that wasn't true? Well, if that wasn't true, I would be making more phone calls. I would be reaching out to these people. I would be connecting with this person. I would be doing that. And it takes you out of that emotional part of your brain and it puts you in a more executive function thinking. And then you're able to see above it to say, okay, yes, I can do these things. And then once you start doing those things, you start to pull it into a physical reality. So yeah, I love all the things you're saying. Has anyone played in, like, do you guys follow anybody that talks about the quantum field, manifestation, anything like that? Okay, there's a few people. When I first started hearing about this stuff, I thought people that were talking like I'm talking to Ruth, I thought we were a bunch of cuckoos. So, everything comes in time when we need to hear it. But, okay, Jake, if you feel like if someone's feeling like they've lost their creativity, they've lost their spark, they're like, I used to be so good at this and now like nothing is working out. Like, I don't know where my creativity went. What do you recommend to them to like go back into that energy?
Yeah, no, great question. And I could relate to a lot of things that we're chatting about as well, of like, for me, getting almost on the polar opposite of if you're in your desk all day or your office all day, like go look at a tree, go touch the earth. Like the earth, I believe, is very, very healing as well. But I've had that question asked for me before, where photographers, they just feel like they're stuck, where they're not growing on social media, or they're not getting these jobs. And I'm like, I'm still trying to figure that out myself as well. But at the same time, like whatever you're doing, maybe try something different. Or if you're like stuck and you're just not passionate, like literally take a drive, do something you would never do, something for the first time, whatever that may be. Or ask yourself, let's say you started photography or your venture 5 years ago, go back to the 5-year version of yourself and ask you why you started. Jot down those things. And I'm a believer in journaling as well. I'm actually implicating it in my life more than ever. But I think that's a track record or just something you could reflect back on of the day-to-day journaling, or just, I don't know, reevaluating certain aspects or equations and stuff. But simple answer, I think for me, I really love to balance professional life, business life, just the grind with also just a healthy, go on a walk, go touch the ocean, or go get away from your whole environment to have a clear mind. So you could revisit that topic with a very, very realistic mindset, opposed to making a permanent decision on like irrational thoughts or kind of just those kind of perspectives. So that's what I recommend doing. And on the photography topic, If it's like, hey, Jake, not really getting any bookings for weddings or bookings for graduation shoots. Or if I want to get better, I'm like, dude, go photograph a concert, go to a dive bar, photograph a band, see how challenging that is and how it will help you photograph a wedding, because it's all really relatable and relevant. Yeah. But I think just getting out of your comfort zone. And I believe now that a lot of people have told me when I was a kid that life starts at the end of your comfort zone. So
yeah, I love that. Very good. And I think too, something I wanted to ask each of you was, I think when we do feel stuck, when we feel like our creativity is kind of like, where did it go? It goes back to also collaboration. And it's so important for us to collaborate with others from all different industries as well. I mean, each one of us is from a different industry. Ruth, you and I are probably more aligned in industry, but we gain so much from working with others. So why do you think it's important to collaborate? Or because I know you collaborate with other people, but like, why do you do that? Like, and how do you keep your unique voice in that collaboration?
I love what you mentioned of like having friends in different circles, different pockets, different fields as well. One of my best friends is a product designer. I've known him since I was a boy, and I'll throw ideas his way and like get his perspective on it. But have those homies or those friends in different fields so you could kind of pitch these ideas from. But they're probably thinking of a whole different perspective that you may not even thought of.
Yeah.
Or having friends of different age groups as well. Whether that's not saying go be friends with someone who's underage or anything. That's not what I'm getting at. But I think as a 31
Keep it above 18. Keep it above 18.
As a 31-year-old, I'm now asking questions to men that are older than me, especially in the marriage realm, of like asking them questions on how they transitioned from being in your mid-20s to early 30s and transitioning into like a marriage role, or maybe like family roles or other like chapters in my life that I'm approaching, how other people navigated that. So I think having those mentors, and a mentor doesn't necessarily have to mean they're older than you, right? Because someone could have picked up a camera at 16 years old and they're still doing it. And that's a lot more time than if I picked it up at 31 years old, because I had no experience at all. So don't like not validate that person because they're younger. And I know in the photography space, there's so many talented younger photographers that I've gotten talked down to by these older people, and they're probably getting talked down to as well. So having that open mind to just, I don't know, incorporating a lot of types of people with their perspective, you're essentially a hybrid of everything you do in life. So why limit yourself or limit your capabilities or who you chat with? Of course, like I think having a ideal mindset of not, I guess, filtering advice or filtering stuff you see on social media of like what is a realistic piece of advice or what is not. I think as I get more deeper into that, I could kind of filter that out. But again, like we kind of mentioned as well, we feel it within our heart. We feel it within our chest and our soul of this is the right direction, or this is pushing me in the right direction, opposed to holding me back or harming me. It is I understand it now more than ever at 31, but it's that inner love, that self-love that just, you could relate it to a lot of things if you want, but the world will tell you what's right and what's wrong.
Yeah.
Or your body will.
Yeah. Your body will always tell you. Trust me on that one. Jess, how about you? So it can be really lonely. I'll speak from experience, owning a business, wearing all the hats. So how do you get that outlet of collaboration, and is collaboration important to you?
Definitely. I think a term I've always really liked is be a collector of people, especially in your 20s and 30s. And it goes back to everything that we've been talking about as well, of you may be in a job right now that doesn't feel relevant to what you want to do later down the line. If I rattled off the amount of jobs I've had and how they've weirdly tied back later down the line, and it also goes back to like treating people well, write that thank you note. Before I started Whiny Baby, we worked together. I was writing like a little column for Bakersfield magazine briefly, and that also goes back to like, oh, wow, I could say, wow, I've had all these different endeavors and I got lucky that no, those were all, leading up to this point. And in that same vein, people that I've, come across in different areas of my life. I was at Red Bull before, and I've stayed in contact with the leadership at Red Bull who has gone on to have insane, jobs in different fields. And I've kept them updated on my whiny baby journey, and they've become so valuable in guiding me on topics like investors and things I don't know about. So I'm a huge believer in mentorship as well. And then, your friendships. Two of my really good friends are here, and each of them have their own passions and purposes. And it is true. You are who you spend your time with. And so it's a privilege to surround yourself with people who are pursuing, their own passions and dreams. And I love Gen Z. And I just think one of the cool things about us is, everybody's out there pursuing their dreams and collaborating. And every single one of my friends has helped Whiny Baby. And I hope to do the same for them on their paths as well. So collect people and definitely mentorship as well.
I love that.
Love that.
Ruth, how about you? How do you collaborate, and why is it important to you?
Yeah, so I separate collaboration from mentorship. So I think what you've said, the mentorship piece, the learning part, and asking questions and not being embarrassed because you may not know something that's easy for someone else and they can explain it to you. The collaboration piece is what we're doing right now. I love this. And I love it because I'm not only learning about each person, I'm not only learning about what they do, I'm learning about their heart. I'm learning about who they are as a person, as people. And I like to surround myself and collaborate with people that have the same heart, that we are in alignment with. I don't collaborate with people that I think are sarcastic or are negative. I just don't. Doesn't make them wrong. It's just who I am, and it keeps my fuel flowing. But I love this because I would never meet you beautiful people in a gazillion years probably if it wasn't for collaboration. So not only learning, but having the opportunity to meet brilliant people and minds, and it's just energetically, it's huge. And then take collaboration even further. And, in business, we know how important it is to collaborate with, I call them sister companies or cousins. So if I do branding and marketing, I'm not going to collaborate necessarily with another brander unless they do graphic art. But I will connect with someone, Anna Marie, or any one of these people or businesses because we're related, and we give more of a holistic approach to our people. And that's what's necessary, that there's so much that we can all share. There's so much that collaboration can do that we definitely, certainly I could not do alone.
Thank you for that. Well, I want to open it up to, we're out of time, but we have time. For a couple questions. Does anyone have a question they'd like to ask one of the panelists? And I'll repeat your question so people that are listening to the podcast can hear it.
Sounds good. I was curious on your guys' entrepreneur journey, when there is a moment that takes you back where you don't feel like you're on the right track, you're getting a lot of no's, maybe your energy is kind of low. Is there a moment that you guys look back on to push you forward? Like, what keeps you guys going when there are failures in your way?
So what keeps you guys going when there's failures on the way? Is there a certain moment you look back to, or maybe something that you look to that will help keep pushing you forward? Is that fair? Yeah.
I think that it's super important to always have like a bigger why. I love wine. I'm passionate about wine. But what I really do and what I really believe in is creating products that connect people. And I believe that wine is the greatest conduit of that, one of. But when things are hard and frustrating, if I didn't have a bigger reason to believe in what I'm doing, it really wouldn't be worth it, And so having a bigger why to push you forward. And it doesn't matter whatever your career is, or if you're an entrepreneur or not, you can find a bigger why in anything you're doing. Oh, I value community. So, I'm going to invite my coworkers to lunch more. And, there's a million ways we can serve that higher purpose that we all feel we have.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, so going back to your why, I think that's really powerful. Anyone else have a question for panelists?
This question pertains to, like, I guess, partnership, or when you reach a place on your journey where you can't handle cast. How do you know maybe to bring someone out? What are the markers that, and what do you look for to say, okay, now?
So the question is, when you're at capacity and you need to grow, when do you know when to bring someone on? Is that fair? Yeah. All right. Who would like to take that one? Ruth, go for it.
So you're scaling. That's basically your scaling. That's an excellent question. When you feel that you cannot service your existing clients well enough because you don't have enough time or you don't have enough hands, that's the time to bring someone on. It's the expansion piece. It's the expansion piece.
Is there any guidelines you have in making that expansion?
Any
Best practices.
Any guidelines or best practices
Yes.
in making that expansion?
Make sure not only that they have the skill set, but they have the emotional piece that goes with it. Only hire people and collaborate with people that you feel in alignment with, because otherwise it will come back to bite your tush. I have experience on that. So you've got to be not only in alignment here, as well as the skill set. It's easy. Believe it or not, it's easier to teach skills than it is to teach the internal piece.
Do you feel complete with that? Anything else? Good. I like it. All right. One more question. Anyone else have a question?
I do. So how did you guys ever, or how did you handle a situation where you thought, like, I mean, some of you guys are born and raised in Bakersfield, you got to a point in your career, in your business, where you feel like, oh, there were certain people that I expected to root for me, who I thought were kind of, and then you kind of realize, damn, that, maybe it's because we grew up together. Maybe it's because small town Bakersfield mentality. I want to do something that's a little bit different. That's not oil fields or welding or whatever it is. How did you guys ever handle, well, one, did you come across those situations? And two, how did you handle it? And then I got a question for you.
So really the question is, or really, do we get rejected, or we don't find that we have the support within the people we grew up with, closer, and the people you thought that were going to support you and cheer you on and be your biggest cheerleader, and you're finding that, like, where are you? What's up with that? Yeah. Yes, 1,000%. I mean, you guys can speak to this, but I mean, I want to say absolutely. I remember when I started one of my first side hustles, and a mentor shared with me, the people that you start with are not going to be the people that you end up with as you rise to the success that you want to get to. And I was like, what? Like, I want my homies to, like, go with me. Like, we're doing this together, right? And he was so right. He was so right. And I think sometimes it's, one, because other people have their own junk that they're dealing with, and they're dealing with their own crap. Two, we have this hopefulness that I think, especially depending on how you grew up, if you were the sports person or the center of attention, or, your parents were always, like, patting you on the back, telling you good job, or your grandma or an aunt. You're like, wait, where is that now? Like, now that I'm grown up. So we sometimes find ourselves, throwing on our big boy pants, and we're like, dude, like, where is everybody? What happened? And I also think that it's not a reflection of us, but it's a reflection of them, because they could also be feeling inadequate. Like, yeah, my friend or this person I grew up with is doing all these really cool things, and, like, I'm over here not doing anything. And they don't even realize that you feel that way also. So that's, I think, the other piece is, if we need support and we need help, we need to tell people, like, hey, I'm having this event. I need you to be there. I'm worried that no one is going to show up, or whatever it is. But that's my opinion. So you guys can throw some stuff out there.
I love that because it feels a little specific to Bakersfield in the sense that it can
go deeper, yeah.
we live in a big town, but it can feel very small. And I actually think that it's a lot harder to go after your dreams in a small, like if we were in LA, no one's going to bat an eye. But putting yourself out here, you do have a lot more eyes on you because, we're not in this huge city. And I forget who said this, but, when you're in the same place that you grew up, sometimes it's hard for people to see you and as something you've changed and evolved. And it's like, oh, a lot of people here still like know me as Jess from high school. And that's very different, and I think a lot of people feel that.
How were you in high school?
My friends here could probably answer that. Obnoxious, probably. I don't know. But I went by Jessica. I tried to rebrand myself. Jess. But so I love that because I think that it's almost harder to put yourself out there in a smaller town sometimes than if we were in like LA or New York. But one thing I really try to check in with, there's a lot of ego in entrepreneurialism, and I really think that needs to change because I would not be here if it wasn't for my friends and the people who have supported me along the way. But in our 20s, life is so weird because half of my friends are getting married and having kids and the other half are so far from that and all that. So I think it's validifying because Whiny Baby oftentimes is on a platform that is so public, that doesn't make it any more valid than one of my best friends who's at home with her newborn all day. And so I think that finding compassion for where each of your friends are in the journey, you'll find that when they feel seen where they're at, they'll be able to support you where you're at as well.
Yeah. That is so powerful. And I think that is so true because some of us have a very public life, a very public way of being. And then we want the support from our friends in that way, but we need to also, if they're a private person, support them privately. Yeah. And that way I'm taking that one home. That's really good.
Hard. Yeah.
Did you have something you want to share?
Yeah, it's more recent, but Mel Robbins, I think she chatted a lot about it. But dude, let them.
Yeah.
Like honestly, let them. Like along the journey, you'll find the people who are going to be that ride or die person for you. Mm-hmm. And high school Jake versus 31-year-old Jake is drastically different. But a lot of my closer friends now, I have a few friends I've known since I was a kid. But a lot of my newer friends I've met since I picked up a camera at 21 years old. So like, dude, let them. If the people don't want to support you or like find the ones who will, rock with them and kind of keep going with it. And you have such good energy. Focus on those good things that are going to give you the good dubs and the good wins. And that's going to push you forward. Not to disregard those homies and friends that have been there for you and that like love you and you want their support as well. But I think focus on those wins and the good things. And I think more of that type of energy will come towards you, but you don't have to be negative to them or like say, oh dude, like, I don't know, wish you were there or wish this, but just let them. And maybe like we all talked about, maybe they have a lot of things in their mind. And I'm sure all of us deal with so many thoughts in our mind on a day-to-day basis that we don't even share with our friends and community. So I always kind of just think having a grateful mentality, but also just be kind to a lot of people because I don't know what we're going through with on a day-to-day basis. Or I like Jess as well. I have a lot of friends who are still like in their younger 20s that are just doing their things. And I have other friends that are on their second kid. I think that's also a nature of Bakersfield as well. So for whatever it's worth, let them and do you to the best of your capabilities and it'll all work out.
What question did you have for Ruth?
Oh, yeah. You said you journaled 3 pages in the morning. Do you have like a prompt or was that just kind of
Just go for it. There's nothing. There's just whatever you're thinking, because we're thinking of tens of thousands of words, thoughts, a minute, a second. So we have lots in there. Get it out. Just say, this is silly. Ruth said 3 pages. I'll check out the writer's way, the artist's way. This is bull. And then just keep writing. Just keep writing because your conscious self is going to try and stop you. This is silly. This is ridiculous. I don't even know why I'm doing this. That's no. So you just keep writing and eventually the consciousness does not take over. The subconscious, what really drives us, we're not even aware of. And that will finally come out.
I love that.
Mic drop.
Yeah. Well, everyone, I want to say thank you for joining us for the Happy Whole You podcast, this live with a creative mindset. And if you listen to podcasts, please go ahead and go on and subscribe or listen or whatever you click to when this episode comes out. You can share it if you feel like somebody should have been here and they're not here. This will live on social media. I also wanted to invite you all on May 2nd. I'm hosting an event at Locale Farm to Table. It's going to be a 3-hour event. We'll be doing breath work. It's called the Power Within 2.0. If you're somebody that is looking for, you want to work on something and go deep within who you are, and there will be some business aspect to it and really getting in alignment with who you are, that's an opportunity. You can talk to Eliana in the back about that event. It's going to be a very small group of people, less than 10 people. And I just thank you all for showing up. Thank you so much to the panelists. Thank you, Joy, for this amazing and beautiful space. David, for recording this to help me get it on to the YouTube. And all of you for taking time to just show up and be open. And so we thank you all. So thank you so much.
Thank you.